family was family. Our next guest began to tamper with alcohol. Baffling disease. He's going to share his story coming up.
Open my heart to sing, taking the darkness inside, revealing your light, restoring hope. Open my eyes to see the world through different eyes, revealing your light, restoring hope.
All right, welcome. 3.5 minutes after the hour on this 24th day of August in the Lord's year 2015. I'm J. Michael McCoy, and welcome to another edition of Restoring Hope Live. I think I need to move over a little bit. There we go. For those of you listening on the radio, that doesn't make any sense to you, but if you've ever taken an opportunity to watch one of our podcasts, yes, I said watch. We call this Passionate Radio with Pictures. We don't call it television because we're, well, only beautiful people. Really, you're the only person who is pretty enough to be on TV here.
Oh, yeah.
Because Bob and I, we look like a couple of bulldogs with beards, and Frank, well, let's not even, talk about a face made for radio. Now, Neil, you're okay. You're a good-looking guy.
Thanks.
But, you can always tune in to our podcast, macmccoy.com, MACMCKOY.com, and go under shows, go under Restoring Hope, and there's 3 years worth now? That be about right?
I don't know.
I think it is. It's close to 3 years. So probably 150 shows there, and you can hear all kinds of stories from all kinds of people who have habits, hurts, and hang-ups, and through redemption, through faith, through wonderful recovery programs, and many times through the services of Unity Point and Powell CDC, they have come to a new life, a life without drugs, a life without alcohol, a life without fear, a life without secrets, a life worth living. And that's what we talk about here on this show. Now, you're probably, if you're new, by the way, to the radio station, thank you very much. We are kind of new to the area. We've been on the air for many years in Boone, but moved this signal into Des Moines in June. And basically, we moved our radio station signal 17 and a half miles to the southeast. And our coverage now is about 60 miles past the, what's the NASCAR track in Newton Raceway, down into Grinnell, into Osceola, Oskaloosa. To the other way, we're at Adair, not Adele, Adair, the smiley face. We have a lady that calls us there every week and tells us that she can hear us just fine. Oh. And I just bless her heart. I mean, I don't know who she is. She just calls and leaves a message, or she just calls and says, I can hear you just fine over here in Adair, the smiley face. She has that little southern draw. I just bet you she bakes great pies, too, just by the voice. And up north, it's the Boondocks area. So if you're listening for the first time, you may say, well, Mac, this is a Christian preaching and teaching and social commentary station, right? In other words, we do preaching and teaching. We have pastors. We have doctors of theology and other things. And then we do what we call passionate conversation, which you would just call talk radio. Some of it political, some of it not. But, Max, seriously, why would you do a show about recovery on a Christian station? Because Christians don't drink. I mean, they don't have problems with drugs. They don't have any hurts, habits, and hang-ups, right? Mm-hmm. Nope. We're all one of those. And most importantly, if you are not besieged with the addiction devil, you know somebody who is. And if you don't know who somebody is, if you can't name somebody in your family or in your church or in your neighborhood that doesn't have an alcohol or drug problem, may I please tell you something that you don't want to hear? May I? Okay, thank you. With love, I'll tell you, you're naive. Because there's a good 3 out of 10 people, maybe 4 out of 10 people in this country who are suffering from some type of hurt, habit, or hang-up. It might be food. It might be an addiction to the sun. It might be alcohol. It might be drugs. It might be gambling. It might be pornography. It might be sex. You'd just be amazed. And, of course, if you really understand, which I know you do, But if you really understand what the church is all about, the church is a hospital for sick people. It is not a cruise ship for all of us who found Jesus and now we're saved and we're perfect. Because I'll tell you what, and Paul teaches this in Romans, we are more aware of our sin as Christians than I ever was as a secular guy. I didn't sin. I was sinless when I was a secular guy. When I didn't have Jesus in my life, I was sinless, right? Oh, that's not a lie. I'm just joshing you. And, well, of course I cheat on my taxes. What good American wouldn't? So I appreciate you taking your time to listen to this show. It's every Monday. It's Restoring Hope, and I thank you for listening. I'm J. Michael McCoy. My co-hosts are Bob Montserrat, the Cat in the Hat, who's watching the chat, and I know Frank will switch that camera here in just a minute. There they are. And you two never sit close to each other. Look how you look like you don't like each other.
We're actually,
but we dressed alike today.
almost.
Yeah, you're kind of in orange and red. So Bob Montserrat, the Cat in the Hat, watching the chat, who's watching our chat. If you go to webcast1live.com, you can jump on the chat. Costs you nothing. We don't save emails. We don't store them or sell them, or we don't do anything with them. You just log on. And then, of course, the lovely Lila Stafford, whose husband just hit 27 years?
26.
26 years. You just hit 27. 29.
29. He lied for 4 years.
Yeah.
I think I may have an extra year in there, actually, because I do remember he lied for 4 years.
So his sobriety date is when he really was sober, not for the time that he was lying to you.
Correct.
Yeah. Well, he was lying to himself, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a great story. You should go back into the archives on YouTube and find the one that has Jim and Lila on it. Now, we had your kids on last Christmas, so it was before that, I think.
I think it was one of our first shows.
Yeah.
Jim was on.
Great story. Great story. Love the FedEx delivery.
Oh, yeah.
She's at the lake, and she gets a FedEx envelope from her husband, and you were just sure he was suing you for divorce.
I thought he was having an affair. I knew something was wrong with our marriage. I didn't know what it was, and I thought this letter was telling me that, but it was to tell me he had been picked up by the police. And
yeah, he had not been.
Yeah.
Yeah. Were you relieved, or were you mad?
Yes, and I remember saying my sister was with me, and I remember in an odd way I'm relieved that he wasn't having an affair, that it was just alcohol.
Yeah.
And that we could deal with that. I don't know that I could have. If it had been an affair, it would have been much more complicated.
Yeah. Lila's mic needs to be a little hotter, Frank. Oh, okay. Thanks, Frank.
I need to talk louder.
Yeah. and you guys just celebrated a wedding anniversary.
Yes, 33 years.
33 years. And you've got one granddaughter.
Yeah, another on the way.
Do we know if it's a boy or girl yet?
It's a girl.
So 2 girls.
Yep.
Do we know the name yet?
Riley.
Really? Mm-hmm. Okay, good. And our special guest today is Neil Fagan. Neil is the Director of Behavioral Health Services at Unity Point, which Powell falls under.
That's correct.
Would that be correct? Now, would it be proper to say that you are head of Powell?
Well, I just provide administrative services. Powell has a manager that basically does the day-to-day operations.
Well, every once in a while, we make Lila CEO of Unity Point.
And I always think if you were here or Kevin, you'd die at him saying that.
So what do you do? Help me understand what you do.
I actually oversee 3 different programs. The Powell Chemical Dependency Center. We also have an outpatient mental health clinic. And we have a mental health service in our emergency department called the Access Center, where when psychiatric patients come into the emergency department, they're assessed there. So I just provide oversight for all 3 of those programs and do budgeting, help the managers solve problems that come up.
Okay. Now, this wasn't a question that I thought about asking, but and you don't have to answer it because I don't mean to draw you into politics, but with Branstad closing down all the mental hospitals, what does that do to a hospital like Unity Point or Powell or anything like that?
Well,
there's not going to be less crazy people out there all of a sudden.
No, he closed 2 of the 4 mental health institutes. They really didn't have a very high average daily census.
Okay.
They were licensed for and had a lot more beds than what they were actually able to run.
Okay.
I think over the years, as the state budget gets cut, then beds are taken out of use. And
Okay.
so there were a lot of patients that had to be moved somewhere. But I think what happens now is there's a backup now that as people relapse and need to be rehospitalized, then those beds aren't available.
But we still have two hospitals in Iowa that deal with mental. What would you call it? Mental disabilities? Mental
disorders.
Oh, boy, that hits me right home. Mental disorders. All right. There aren't fewer people with mental disorders. In fact, there are probably more. So we're just consolidating and spending our money better at 2 facilities rather than 4.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I won't ask you any more about that because I don't want you to get into the politics of it. But when you were growing up, what did you want to be when you grow up?
Well, when I was growing up, I wanted to be a priest.
Really?
I grew up in a Roman Catholic family.
And you did, or
I
did?
did. Yes.
You did become a priest?
I did.
You went to seminary?
Yes, I did.
Wow. And what made you stop being a priest? Is that too personal? I'm sorry.
No, there were a couple of things that were happening in my life at that time. One was that I had been sober for about 6 years and then had a relapse. And I wasn't sure if I could maintain sobriety as a minister.
Okay.
And then secondly, I was in the process of coming out as a gay man. And the church that I belonged to at that time really wasn't a place for me to be.
Okay.
And so for those two things, trying to be more authentic to myself and to maintain my sobriety, it was time to resign from ministry.
Okay. How long ago was that?
Oh, that was in 1988.
Wow, a long time ago.
Yeah.
All right. Now, do you still attend Roman Catholic churches?
I don't. For the longest time, when I recovered from my relapse, I did a better job of using AA than I had before. I had stopped going to meetings and also didn't have a sponsor. And so I sort of faked my way for about 6 years, and it caught up with me.
Mm.
And so I always encourage everybody, go to meetings,
Yep.
get a sponsor.
Yep. Okay, good. Well, that's interesting. And we'll get to that part of the story because I want to get all the way back to the beginning for you.
Okay.
And have you share what it was like. You grew up in an agricultural area on a farm?
I grew up in a small town, but both sets of grandparents had farms around the towns.
Okay. So you worked on the farm when you were a kid?
A little bit, yeah.
Did you milk cows?
No, I walked beans.
You walked beans. I don't know what that means.
Cut the weeds out of the field.
Oh, because we didn't have pesticides and all that kind of stuff back then.
They weren't
right?
used that much back then.
Okay. So your job was literally to walk rows and rows and just cut the weeds out.
Right.
That's a crappy job. Did
I
it
won't
pay?
even get the weeds out of my garden.
Yeah, really. Yeah, really. And
Hey,
you,
I want to ask something because I thought it was interesting. When you said that you faked it for 6 years, you know, going, I did the same thing. You know, it was like from the outside, I looked like I was doing everything right. And it wasn't that I relapsed with alcohol, but I relapsed emotionally. And then it was like, okay, I've got to do this the right way. And I wonder how many people are out there doing that. You know, you can show up at a meeting and not participate, be in the back row and
Yeah.
and walk out the door as soon as
yeah,
the meeting's
the
over.
half
with.
measure section.
Yeah. And I know there are a lot of people that do that and say, well, I'm going to meetings, but they're not connected. And I'm glad you brought that up because I think it's really important for people to feel connected, have a sponsor.
All right, and we'll talk about that when we come back. Neil Fagan is our guest, Director of Behavioral Health Services at Unity Point. He's not here to talk about Unity Point today. He's here to share his own story. And it's these stories that when people share them, bring forth what I call nows, nuggets of wisdom. And God places them here so we can hear what's important in other people's story because God wants us to hear those. He wants us to hear the important things in Neil's story. And we'll hear those today. Live on The Truth, 99.3.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
A father who is headed toward another heart attack. A woman who struggles daily with diabetes and her memory. A boy whose headaches keep him out of school. A mother who one morning discovers a lump. A girl whose condition defies diagnosis. You come to us because you need answers, but you also need more. You need understanding of what you're going through. You need comfort. You need to be treated as an individual, not a condition. You need to be included in your own care. You are the point of everything we do. That's why we're changing to Unity Point Health. It's a model of care that will help us work better together, where the physician who knows you best takes the lead, coordinating your care through every step, from the hospital to specialists to rehabilitation, to health services in the home and in the community, to making sure the treatments are effective. By working as a team, we surround you with care, helping you manage your health and your conditions, guiding you to making better choices and living a healthier life. The point of Unity is you. Unity Point Health.
Hi, I'm J. Michael McCoy, and about 20 years ago, I went to a used car salesman by the name of John Hewitt. He had a little shop over there on North 2nd Avenue called John's Auto Sales, and I bought a car. I found that experience to be one that I had never had before from a used car salesman. He was honest, he was dependable, he had integrity, and he did what he said he was going to do. Well, over the years, between my kids and grandkids, I purchased 7 vehicles from John's Auto Sales. And last month, I asked him to be a sponsor. I can tell you about their huge selection. I can tell you about their years of experience. I can tell you about their honest integrity. But all I really need to tell you is that I bought 7 cars, and you can trust them. John's Auto Sales, 5435 2nd Avenue, Des Moines.
You need a good ride when you hit the trail. Trust the man with the cars, and he goes by the name of Big John. Big John. Big John.
Credit cards are like grandkids. They love you, sometimes get out of control, and it's fun to get a new one. Who can stop them from piling on?
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of Des Moines. At the end of the day, you can return the grandkids, but you're stuck paying off bad credit card debt. We'll help you put the fun back into using credit cards responsibly. Right, kids?
Yeah! If you need help getting credit cards off your back, call Consumer Credit of Des Moines.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Restoring hope, open my heart to sing, taking the darkness inside, revealing your light, restoring hope.
Welcome back, 24th day of August in the Lord's year 2015. I'm J. Michael McCoy. We sure thank you for being here on this bright and beautiful Monday afternoon. I can't believe it's still fall. It feels like football weather. I mean, we're at fall next week, right? Isn't Labor Day kind of the beginning of fall?
Yeah, that's what
In everybody's mind, it is.
Yeah, whether it is really
Officially, no.
But beautiful weekend. I know Lila and I go to the same church, that little church out in West Des Moines. What do they call it? Hope. Hoppy. Hopesters. Anyway, we had 5 campuses gather at the Waukee Stadium yesterday. Official counts just under 15,000 people in one little place, praising Jesus. And you know, it was kind of funny, Lila. I don't know if you thought about this, but I did. You know, Mike's message yesterday was very evangelical. It was very much to a seeker person who was just trying to get comfortable with this Jesus thing. And I'd look up and I'd look at him, and he'd remind me of Billy Graham. He really did.
You know what? That went through my head too.
Yeah, it just reminded me of Bill, and I love Billy Graham. So I mean, I like to still listen to Billy Graham now, and I TV and his old shows and stuff. But I don't know, it was just a moment there. Maybe because it was the stadium, maybe his hair was blowing around. I don't know, but it was pretty cool. And you were in your home church, of course.
Correct.
Eating your pumpkin pie and spiced coffee and.
Yeah.
You know, just living it up in the home church.
Yeah.
We were roughing it outside.
Yeah, we had
hot sun and
we had air conditioning. It was pretty nice.
Man, you guys, you're just crazy. All right, our guest today is Neil Fagan. Neil is the Director of Behavioral Health Services at Unity Point. And he's not here to talk to us about Unity Point today. He's here to tell us about his story. And so how old are you now?
I am 60.
60. All right. So when did you take your first drink of alcohol?
I was probably about 10 or 12.
Do you remember the moment?
Oh, yeah.
Tell me about it.
One of my sisters got married, and my folks had a whole bunch of people over to the house, and they never, ever had anything more than beer in the house usually, but for this reception, there was some whiskey. And me and my brother and a cousin snuck one of the bottles out, and we didn't drink very much, but I remember how good that was.
And it was whiskey?
Yeah.
Yeah. And did they ever find out, your parents?
Not that I know of.
Not that you know of, yeah. And what was that sensation like? I mean, you're talking about 50 years ago, but you can still taste it, smell it, and remember that sensation.
Yes, absolutely. It there was just something in my brain that just instantly said, I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
And wanted more, and it took a few years before I had a chance to get more.
Oh, yeah, but you still remember that first one.
I do.
Do you think that's particular in, no, let me back up. Is that a common case with an alcoholic, with someone who has the disease?
I hear a lot of people talk about that can remember their first drink.
Yeah. We all the time. In fact, usually we laugh because most of the time the number's 14. Had my first drink at 14.
But did you hear what he said? He drank at 10, but then it was a few years before he really drank. So it probably was maybe 13, 14 before you really
It was
started.
probably my senior year in high school,
Oh.
so I was
Okay.
17.
Okay.
And was that because it just wasn't available to you? Or you
Right,
just didn't
yeah.
want it?
It wasn't available.
Okay. So when did it become available regularly?
Oh, my senior year of high school, there was more freedom. I had a car. We could run around on Friday and Saturday night. And I had always heard through high school that people had kegger parties out in the country.
Yeah.
It was exciting to go to the first one of those. And I just drank beer all night long and got very drunk.
Did you lose the dogs that night?
I did.
Yeah. Did your parents figure it out then while you're barking at the dinosaurs?
Well, actually, what happened was I was too drunk to drive, so a friend was driving my car, and I got sick out the window. And it sort of
Yes.
took the finish off the car along that side. So it wasn't easy to hide that at all.
Yeah. Yeah. And what'd your dad say?
You know, they didn't say anything to me.
Okay. Do you think they should have?
I don't know if it would have made a difference.
Okay. I often wonder when the parents catch the kids the first time, if like I grew up in a home where there was a lot of alcohol, very high functioning, white collar, very successful, and I don't know if my parents are alcoholics. It's not my place to call, but every night there were 2 or 3 beers, and then they'd switch to H&H, and then the house would get real quiet and everybody'd go to bed. So I never remember drama or anything like that. But I never liked alcohol. I never liked the taste of it. I had it around all the time. I remember I stole a bottle of slow gin out of my parents' liquor cabinet. See, it had a lock, but they forgot that I knew where the key was. Did you know where the key was to your dad's liquor?
He didn't have a key.
He didn't have a key? Okay.
We got into it.
And I took this thing of slow gin over to my friend's house, Danny Parrott's house, and I didn't want to drink it the rest of the night. So...
yeah, but you said you wondered if parents.
Yes.
My dad caught me, and it didn't make any difference. I mean, I was grounded for a whole month, had my car taken away, everything taken away from me, and the first 2 days I was out, I got picked up by the police. So it didn't make any difference.
First 2 days after you got your car back?
Yeah.
You got picked up by the police for being drunk?
I wasn't drunk. I was with 18 other people that.
In one car?
Yeah, that was the first mistake.
Do you think? Yeah, you got to get closer to you're talking.
I'm on top of my microphone. Something's wrong.
Oh, yeah. It's the microphone's fault.
Well, I'm.
Gosh darn that
Does
microphone.
it sound okay now?
Now you're great.
Okay.
All right. So your dad gave you heck and grounded you, and it made no difference.
Correct. It did for, I enjoyed, to tell you the truth, being home for the month and being punished, because to me it showed me that my dad did care.
Yeah.
In a weird way. But as far as being an alcoholic, it didn't make, once I was free and under from his reign, I drank in college and continued. I mean, it was bad news.
Robert?
Well, I'm still stuck on this barking at the dinosaurs. There was something else you mentioned, too, when you had, a hangover, and I'm trying to figure that one out.
Well, the dog's barking and calling the dinosaurs is the same thing as praising the porcelain stool. You're throwing up in a toilet, Bob.
You see, that's why being sober for 63 years, I'm not familiar with those terms, so I was just kind of stuck on that.
Is anybody else is that just a Nebraska thing?
I haven't heard it, but I could figure out what it was.
Yeah, the dogs are barking is blah, 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 and then calling the dinosaurs is the same thing.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Bob, see, 63 and you're still learning something. So when did the drinking of the alcohol become not a problem, but regular?
When I was in college.
Okay. It was just beer or hard liquor?
Both.
Okay.
Mostly beer, but both.
Was it just evening celebration drinking, or did it become a noon hour, nighttime, morning time?
Well, at that time, Iowa had changed the law, and 18 was the legal age to drink.
Okay.
And so everybody in college it was legal to drink, and we had a bar on the campus.
You had a bar on campus?
Yeah.
Where'd you go to college?
A little college outside of Dubuque.
Okay. All right. And so when was the first time that alcohol had consequences for you?
Well, I think probably when I started having blackouts, that was really scary, and that was a consequence for me.
Yeah.
Because I didn't really understand what was happening.
Now, did you party when you drank, or did you drink alone?
Partied.
Okay. Yeah. That seems...
See, Neil just doesn't look like the party animal
I'm
to me.
sitting here. I know him as a boss, and he's so quiet and reserved that I can't... It just doesn't seem like you.
I think I had a terrible social anxiety.
Oh,
and when I drank, then I could talk to people.
Yeah.
And
I
could have
that.
fun.
Yeah. Be who you thought you really were inside.
Now, you said that later in life you came out as a gay person.
Right.
What was did you feel that anxiety in high school and college?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
My very favorite man in the whole wide world was my Uncle Bill. And he was gay. Now, he died of AIDS, tragically. I mean, he was one of the first people. They had no idea what to do. Nobody could touch him. And he just melded away to nothing. But I remember in, probably 71 or 72, I literally can remember sitting on the front porch, and he told me that he was leaving his wife and that he was gay. And, of course, what did I know about gay? That, okay, you're gay. What do I care? I thought it was a tragedy that he was going to move my cousins away, but didn't. The world had to educate me on gay because it wasn't even discussed back then.
Yeah, the world had to educate everybody because I think, and that probably was part of your problem, that nobody really talked about this. It was hidden from everybody.
Oh, that's right. I often think that Dear Abby was my lifeline.
Yeah.
Because even as I was growing up, 8 or 10 years old, reading the newspaper, she would deal with the subject in her column, and nobody else ever talked about it. So I would just read that column every day, and it, I think, helped me get through it. But you're right, nobody talked about it. And I think maybe being an introvert, I just really didn't cultivate relationships with people that I could talk to.
Yeah.
What was it called? Was it called gay then?
Homosexual,
Just
I think,
homosexual.
most of the time, yeah.
And do you remember the first moment that you realized that was you?
I don't remember a first moment. I know it was early in grade school.
Okay, where you just realized that you're more comfortable. Is it that you're more comfortable with boys or that you're not comfortable with girls?
I think I just found myself physically attracted to the boys in the class.
Okay.
And as we were getting older and everybody else's interests were going the other way, I just realized that I was somehow a misfit.
You know, when I was in college, I went to college in Mississippi.
Well, your old man did send you far away, didn't he?
Yeah. Well, they had water skiing and sailing for classes. That's why I went there.
I see. Yeah, the electives.
Yeah. But it was an all-girls school, and that was in 67, 68, 69 in there, and it wasn't until we had about a 20-year reunion that the women in my class that were gay admitted to it, and it was, they had found each other, but it was such a subject that nobody talked about that it was 20 years later and then they told us all the stories that happened, and everyone could laugh at that point. But it just made me really sad that people weren't able to be themselves or talk about what was really bothering them or keeping them from being real with other people. It was sad to me.
Yeah, well, that's the ugly side of religion, and I don't think has anything, very, very little to do with Jesus. I just think that's ugly side of religion. And I spent my time in the ugliness too. So, I mean, I'm guilty. All right, when we come back, our guest is Neil Fagan from Unity Point, Director of Behavioral Health Science. While we're in a break, I want you to think about, I asked you when the first time was you suffered consequences, and those were the blackouts. When did you realize this is a problem? This is not just a little thing. This alcohol thing, it's cunning, baffling, and it's powerful. We'll talk to Neil when we come back. We're live here on Restoring Hope. We appreciate you spending the time with us, and if I haven't told you lately, thanks for listening. I love this job. Couldn't do it without you. Right here on The Truth.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
I'm Brian Leach, owner of Service Legends, and my position is Chief Talent Officer.
I'm Nicholas Wonderscheid.
I am Bernie Hobbs.
And I'm the Service Manager.
Marketing Director and Client Relations Manager.
Everything that we do is about ensuring that we exceed your expectations.
Our clients are important to us. 100% satisfaction.
We're not just focused on heating and cooling. That's the easiest part of our job, actually, is fixing furnaces and air conditioners.
Everyone that we come in touch with, we want to improve lives.
Bottom line is, we've got our installation guarantees, 25% energy savings guarantee, comfort guarantee, temperature selection guarantee, property protection guarantee.
100% satisfaction guaranteed. Fixed rate or it's free.
All of those guarantees are backed up with a 100% money-back guarantee to hold ourselves accountable to making sure that you get what you're after.
Just fixing the problem today. If they have another problem 5 days down the road, it's still fixed rate or it's free.
We use what's called straightforward pricing. Our technicians are going to give you an exact to-the-penny price on what it's going to take before they move forward with any repair. That way you know what to expect.
It's the same price every day.
No surprises.
If you get off work at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, you come home, you realize that, oh, my furnace is broken. Now you need to call somebody out that night. You shouldn't have to pay more for that.
We're guaranteeing service 24/7.
We run afternoons, evenings, nights, weekends. We're staffed to work that.
Phone rings at 3 in the morning. You'll get one of our representatives answering the phone every time.
We're not sending you out to Timbuktu in some call center. It's our Service Legend team members, our mission control team.
I'll take a call anytime.
And then they answer the phones the same way during the day as they do at night.
It's a great day at your service company. How can we make you smile?
That's the only way to provide true 24-hour service.
When you're able to let somebody actually live in their home safely when they weren't able to do that before, where they don't have to stay up at night and worry about, is the heat going to come back on? Are we going to freeze the pipes? Is the baby in the room next door going to be sick because they got too cold? When you're able to help somebody overcome challenges like that, that's impacting a life. That makes a difference. I get goosebumps thinking about it.
I love the team. I love the people that I work with.
We have fun, but we work hard.
I call them my ambassadors of legendary service. If you could just envision what that is, that's who we're sending to your home.
They literally will call in, pick up the phone and call and say, hey, I want to talk to your manager. And I get on the phone, they're like, that technician that was at my house was the greatest technician ever. That's cool to me.
We want to brighten people's days.
Every person that we have going into the house has gone through an extensive background check.
Drug testing, we have a very thorough interview process that 1 out of 140 people make it through.
If we promise you something, that's what you're going to get, no matter what.
We're here when you need us to protect the safety and comfort of your family.
If you're not happy, we're going to make it right.
If we're willing to put 100% money back guarantee on what we do, what type of work do you think we do?
Give us a call. We're there for you 24/7, 365 days a year.
Enough said.
Restoring hope, open my heart to sing, taking the darkness inside, revealing your light, restoring hope.
All right, 22 minutes before the top of the hour, Salem Radio Network news at the top, and then Steve Deace back live in his home market in Afternoon Drive right here on 99.3. Big story today, stock market down over 1,000 points. Over 1,000 points. Tomorrow, Tom Coates will be on, and we'll be talking about the Second Amendment and gun control and some of the things that our government is doing to make it much more difficult not only to own a handgun, but to buy ammunition. Because, see, we let the government somehow not mess with our guns that much, but we don't pay attention to what they're doing with ammunition. And manufacturers of ammunition are going out of business right and left because the government is holding back on how much they can. I mean, imagine the government coming in and telling you could only produce so much. You can only have this much production this year, and that's all. You can't produce more than that. And they scream and yell, and the NRA gets involved, but it's not gun control, and so people don't worry about it. But if you can't have the ammunition, it doesn't do you much good to have guns. And I know Tom will also talk about the stock market a little bit tomorrow because he's very concerned. He believes we're coming into a very large, what does he call it, an adjustment?
I don't know, but I hadn't heard it went down 1,000. That's scary. I knew it had gone down.
500
Friday.
points on Friday.
Oh, gosh.
Yes, so 401ks. And, somebody at church said the best thing to me yesterday. They said, they were, I think, 34 years old. And so, yeah, it had an impact on them, but they had time to recover. But someone of our ages, we don't have 15 years to recover, so... Anyway, we'll talk about that. Neil Fagan is my guest today. He's the Director of Director of Behavioral Health Services at Unity Point, and telling his own story today. So you're in college, and you're drinking, and you have a blackout here and there. Now, what kind of drunk were you? Were you a happy-go-lucky, put a lampshade on your head kind of drunk?
I was just very talkative. And
okay.
Yeah.
Where normally you'd be fairly an introvert.
Pretty quiet, yeah.
Okay. So how many years did this go on until there was an issue?
Well, I knew in the back of my head, I would think a few times, my dad had a problem with alcohol, and I always swore I was never going to drink like him.
Yeah.
And it just periodically would hit my head that I'm drinking just like him, but I'm never going to do that.
Yeah.
What was his behavior when he drank?
He was pretty angry.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, but he, did most of his heavy drinking away, and it was intermittent. He just wouldn't be home from work, and we all knew that he was at the bar, but nobody ever talked about it.
I think a lot of people, the alcoholics themselves, don't get that what an example they're leading their, for their children when they say, I'm not bothering anyone. And it's like, no, your children are watching you do this every day. And I can't tell you how many kids say I'm never going to be, because I did Alateen for years with, I started a couple groups in Des Moines, and the kids always say, I'm never going to be like my parents. And, they usually are, even if they don't want to be. You're about one of the only people I know that really chose not to do it because of your background.
Yeah, that's correct. I
chose your dad and uncle were pretty hardcore. Is your uncle still living? Probably not.
Only one.
Only one?
Of the three.
Of the three. And does he have alcohol issues today?
I'm not aware of that.
Okay.
Well, I know a few people, parents who are in recovery who really do a nice job of being open with their kids about it and just educating them that there's a genetic factor to this and they need to be aware of that. They don't lay down a rule that you can never ever drink, but they need to know what their risk was. And,
I was one of those, but I laid down the rule, and that was a mistake because when my kids went to college, they had never drank. Well, Ty, I guess, did right before he went to college, but I didn't teach him how to drink, and that was a problem. because it was just, no, we don't drink. You guys don't have a chance. Your mother and father are both alcoholics, and it goes back for generations, so you don't have a chance. And Ty's still trying to prove us wrong. So,
do you think he's wrong?
Well, when I see some of this stuff on Facebook, I question.
Yeah. Well.
Except his friends say that he really doesn't overdrink. I don't know.
How'd you like to be Ty's friend and have his mom walk up and say, "So tell me about my son's alcohol," because they all know who she is. Oh, here, put away the beer. Put away the beer. Yeah, but my two kids, my two biological children, have a very hard time accepting the fact that I'm sober. Well, actually, they have a hard time accepting that alcohol is a bad thing.
Yeah.
Because they both have carried on the tradition. Gosh darn it, I hate that too. But anyway, that's another conversation. So, when did you know? What did you have? Did you have an event that happened?
Oh, yeah. My drinking just got worse and worse. After college, I went to seminary, and there was time in the evenings to drink. And you asked me if I drank alone, and no, I had 3 separate groups of friends that I drank with. So I always knew that one of the groups would be drinking. And
Now, do you know that looking back now, or were you aware of that then?
Looking back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So none of them knew how much I drank. If I met with all 3 of them, none of them thought I was drinking that much.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's crazy. All right. So what was the incident that finally...
Oh, I had 2 really good friends who sat me down one morning after I had been drunk the night before, and they talked about how much they cared about me and wanted me to do something, and that they had arranged for me to meet with a counselor.
Oh, that was nice.
So good friends.
Yes.
Now, were you an acting priest at that time?
No, I was still in the seminary at that time.
Okay. So you were never drunk as a priest?
No.
No. Because I always wonder about the access to the communion wine and all that stuff. And I was raised Episcopalian, so I'm your kissing cousin from Catholic. And, you'd see that the priest finish all the wine that was left. And I'd think, well, that can't be healthy. But they always told me that you couldn't be drunk. You couldn't get drunk on consecrated wine. You've heard that before, too, I take it.
Yeah.
And that's not true, is it?
No, it isn't.
All right. So then did you start into a 12-step program then?
Yes, I did.
How many years ago was that?
Let's see, that was 1981 that I went to treatment and started going to AA.
So you're 34 years sober?
No, I had that relapse in there.
Oh, okay.
So I started counting over. So I celebrated 27 years this year.
Oh, well, congratulations.
Thank you.
And what made you relapse?
Loneliness. I hadn't connected with people in AA. I go to meetings and talk, but I was pretty lonesome. My mother died about 3 years after I was ordained, and I was moved from one parish to another at the same time, and there was just too much life happening and nobody to talk about it with.
Yeah.
Do you remember that? Do you remember your second drink or your first drink?
Well, it probably was at Kager in high school. Yeah.
No. What do you remember? When you relapsed?
Oh, yeah. It wasn't. I shouldn't say that. I was going to say it wasn't a huge relapse, but I think any relapse is huge.
Yeah.
No, I had officiated at a wedding and went to the reception, and I had a glass of wine, and it just hit me that I was doing something wrong. I wasn't supposed to be drinking.
Yeah. And so you didn't drink again, or how long did you stay out?
No, that was it.
One night?
Yeah.
I know a couple people that have done that. They'll get 1 year and just go out for one night and then start all over again, get another year, go out for one night. I think they're afraid of doing well. I don't know.
Well, I remember one of my very good friends challenged me and said, I think you drink too much, Mac. I want you to work on this. So I quit drinking purposely. I said, I'm going to quit for 21 days. I quit for 21 days, and after 21 days of sobriety, I took all my friends out for martinis. And I remember she was sitting next to me, and she said, do you think it's okay to do this? I said, well, I've proven it. I can quit drinking any time. Boy, was I wrong. But I didn't know I was wrong. That's what's amazing. All right, we're going to take our last break, and when we come back, the good stuff. What Neil's life is like now after being sober for 27 years. And we'll talk about that live here on Restoring Hope on 99.3.
A father who is headed toward another heart attack. A woman who struggles daily with diabetes and her memory. A boy whose headaches keep him out of school. A mother who one morning discovers a lump. A girl whose condition defies diagnosis. You come to us because you need answers, but you also need more. You need understanding of what you're going through. You need comfort. You need to be treated as an individual, not a condition. You need to be included in your own care. You are the point of everything we do. That's why we're changing to Unity Point Health. It's a model of care that will help us work better together, where the physician who knows you best takes the lead, coordinating your care through every step, from the hospital to specialists to rehabilitation to health services in the home and in the community, to making sure the treatments are effective. By working as a team, we surround you with care, helping you manage your health and your conditions, guiding you to making better choices and living a healthier life. The point of Unity is you. Unity Point Health.
Credit cards are like grandkids. They love you, sometimes get out of control, and it's fun to get a new one. Who can stop them from piling on?
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of Des Moines. At the end of the day, you can give these grandkids back, but you're stuck paying off bad credit card debt. We can help you put the fun back into using credit cards responsibly. Right, kids?
Yeah! If you need help getting credit cards off your back, call Consumer Credit of Des Moines.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Restoring hope, open my heart to sing, taking the darkness inside, revealing your light, restoring hope.
Welcome back, 24th day of August in the Lord's year 2015. I'm J. Michael McCoy, and this is Restoring Hope Live, a program brought to you by Unity Point. Remember, you know someone. You know someone. So when you're at that family barbecue, when it's Thanksgiving, and Uncle Joe, well, you know, has a little too much, or the new girlfriend shows up with a friend, and you can just tell she's tipsy. You can tell there's a problem, or it's your grandson. And it's just tragic because it breaks your heart. Because you just had hoped it'd skip him. You just hoped that the family disease would skip him. But you don't know what to do. You don't know who to call. You're afraid any phone call is going to lead to men in little white coats come running up and drag him away, hee-hee, ha-ha, to the funny farm where life, you know the words. Well, now you know somebody. In fact, there's 4 people in this room you can call. You can call Neil. You can call Miss Coco. You can call Bob. You can call me. 263-2424. That's the number of Powell, CDC. They will love you. They will love on you. They will meet you where you're at, not drag you to where they are. And they'll help that person in your family find sobriety. Because when you're in a ditch, in a rut with alcohol or drugs, you have no idea how it consumes you. You wake up the day, you wake up in the middle of the, you wake up in the morning, and by the middle of the day, you're already planning your first drink. Weekends are planned around drinking. Trips are planned around drinking. I can remember flying into Washington, D.C., and I was being honored at the, I never remember the name of that, National Association of the Mentally, National
Alliance on Mental Illness.
Yeah, and I was speaking to them because I had been diagnosed borderline about 6 years earlier, and I had come out of it. I had my doctor told me I was one of the few that could be in what's that called? Release or
remission.
Remission. Thank you. So I flew in, but I was still drinking. because my alcohol wasn't a problem, right? Mm-hmm. I remember flying into Washington, D.C., I get in the cab, and before I tell the guy the hotel, I tell him to go by the closest liquor store so I could pick up enough liquor to get me through that 3-day or whatever it was. Oh, how sad. So anyway, you know somebody. Powell, CDC, 263-2424. Call me personally. Call Lila. Call Bob. Call Neil. Seriously. You know someone. You can't use that as an excuse anymore. I just don't know anybody to call. I have no idea what to do. I think they'll come and take him away. You do. They won't. And we'll love you through it. So, Neil, now 27 years. So I got to get this straight in my head. So you drank one time at a wedding reception, and you started your sobriety over the next day.
Yes.
So I think I'd stay out for a good year or so.
Now, the guilt was probably so bad.
It was guilt.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you were a Catholic priest.
Yeah, but there was some integrity in it, too, because that wasn't the person I wanted to be.
Yeah.
When I first went to AA, even though I wasn't doing it right, I knew I needed it.
Yes.
And so now you were going to do it right.
Yes.
And I think sometimes with a relapse like that, it just shifts you enough to get you on the right track after that. You know, if you hadn't been doing AA or 12-step program in a way that you knew was beneficial to you, I bet after your relapse you probably got on board.
Yeah, it was a wake-up call for me. And one of my friends was the nurse manager at Powell at the time, and I knew she was somebody I could confide in, and so I went and talked with her and she helped me get myself moving in the right direction again and plugging into the right AA groups. At that time, I didn't realize that there were groups for gays and lesbians.
Yeah.
And found a group that adopted me, a man that had 20 years of sobriety that offered to be a sponsor. And
I'm very thankful for those meetings.
And me too.
Yeah.
And do you think it was your own personal addiction that drove you into the passion you have today for this business?
You know, what motivates me is at the time that I needed help, there was somebody there. And I want to make sure that there's somebody there for the people that are needing help now.
Yeah, just like I just said. Just you know somebody. You could go there. If you could change, well, let me ask it this way. If you got to vote in November to have no alcohol in this country or to continue as it is, would you vote no?
Let's see.
Would you say, listen, alcohol is too bad for the alcoholic, and it's not really good enough for anybody else? I want this to be a dry United States of America.
No, I would not go in that direction. There are plenty of people that use alcohol, and it's not at all a problem. And I have a sister that's allergic to shellfish, and so I wouldn't want to ban shellfish.
Yeah.
You know, in the whole country. I don't understand. You know, I told her that I just didn't get why she didn't eat it anyway, because that's how I dealt with alcohol.
Right. Because, and I've heard a lot of people say I'm allergic to alcohol.
Yeah.
You know, when I break out in the stupids every time I drink it.
But I really am. I mean, I
know. You got checked.
I bet there are a lot of people that were just like me.
Yeah. Actually allergic to it, had a negative reaction in your body.
Yeah.
There's somebody listening out there right now. I don't know their name. You don't know their name. But they've got somebody who's struggling, and they're kind of scared to death to be the tattletale. But they can't live with themselves because of their daughter, their son, their friend. What would you say to them?
There's hope. You know, if you call the treatment center, there's hope there. There are people just like you have had the same experience you've had. They understand. That was my experience going to AA. It was the people that told their stories, they were telling my story.
Yeah.
And I knew I belonged.
And you weren't alone.
Yeah. And there's help for the whole family, too.
Yeah.
Not just the addict or the alcoholic, but the whole family.
Yeah, you always hear that it's a family addiction.
Disease.
Family disease. And that doesn't mean you may get it or might not. It means that you suffer from the consequences of it. I have made a few amends to my wife in the last year, realizing the trauma that it cost my family when I started drinking, because I started drinking at 34 years old. I never drank before that. And then I had a trauma in my life, and I reacted by, I'm going to drink. And what a shift it did to my whole family. So, Neil, thanks for being here.
Oh, you're welcome.
Appreciate you telling your story. If I give you $10, can you, as a former priest, could you publicly damn somebody for me? Can you do that?
No.
No, you can't? Oh, nuts. One of these days. All right, Bob, thanks for being here. Appreciate it. Watching the chat over there. Lila, thank you for being here. Frank, good job producing. Yeah, you're almost as good as everybody else. And I'm J. Michael McCoy. I'll leave you with what I always do. If it's okay, I'll repeat it again. There's somebody you need to forgive. It's somebody that's eaten your lunch, and they're living rent-free in your head. So tonight, forgive them. Because remember, as you forgive, you shall be forgiven. I'll see you in church. All right. Good job.
Restoring hope.